John Ruffing from buoyware.com. Welcome to Irish Startup TV.
Appreciate it. I'm actually really stoked to be here, and talking startup is something that I like to do. So thank you.
Awesome, my pleasure. So tell us, firstly, we've got we say buoyware, or we might say buoyware in Ireland.
Yeah, we say buoy. The Australians and Irish, you guys have kind of a cooler way of saying it. So you almost start to make me consider changing my name or the way you say
No
it,
way.
maybe having like an accent.
Okay, yeah, that could work. That could work. So tell us a little bit about the product.
Yeah, so Buoyware, we're a water enthusiast clothing company, and we make floating hats. Pretty simple, not too complicated for water enthusiasts that want, you know, headgear or shade maker, as we might call it, a hat that can go in the water, can dry off quickly, repels water, helps you with the sunlight, the shade, and then also when you lose it, it's not going to be sucked under the waves, the water, the river. So, or if you're fishing, supboarding, surfing, kite surfing, all those kind of sports, we created the hat based from a problem or a challenge that I had, and that challenge was I kept losing my freaking hats.
Well, it's a pretty great idea because it's one of those things that I'd say a lot of people right now are watching this video and saying, "Damn, why didn't I think of that?"
Right.
Because like growing up, I guess we're probably a similar age. When we started water sports,
Yep.
wetsuits were only really coming along, and if you got wet, you were just miserable. Whereas the short technology has come along so far. Like I saw a pair of Quicksilver shorts the other day, and they're even made out of recycled plastic. But I haven't seen anything else in the market in the headwear space.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, and we have a lot of stuff coming out too that I haven't quite released yet. I got my designs done, so there's even more kind of just up in the game, slowly as we move along with the products and the floating hat. Kind of what you said. Everyone, and I get that all the time. Oh, that hasn't been invented yet, or there isn't anything like that in the market. And no, there's not. And it's a simplistic design, and it's not too complicated, so people kind of understand it right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks and feels just like a normal hat, wears just like a normal hat, but just has that, quick dry, no water retention, and that floating technology capability behind it. So
Amazing. And how did you go about designing and after you had the concept, have you got experience in the clothing space, or how did you go about building it?
so that's kind of funny. So I have no experience in the clothing business. I just kind of saw a problem, and I had other friends and folks. And after so I'm a big kiteboarder. I'll kind of give you the background. I'm a big kiteboarder, and I've been kiting for about 15 years or so. I teach also kiteboarding. I have a kiteboarding school in Mexico and then in Oregon as well. So, I'm on the water constantly kite surfing, always in the elements, in the sun. And after kite surfing these so many years, I lost, 30 or 40 hats.
Uh-huh.
And even tethering them to my shirt or doing other things. So I went and traveled actually for about 5 years just around the world with my kite surfing gear, and had a really, really fun time, but I kept losing hats. And so finally I was in Peru, and I was like, no more. I'm not losing any more hats.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and so I went actually. I was in Lima, and they have a good kind of manufacturing area there. It's kind of like for South America. It's one of the best areas for manufacturing clothing because they get a lot of stuff in from China. It's a really big port there in Lima, and it's kind of something like Vietnam or China or Taiwan, right? So
Okay.
I was down there, and I was like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. Let me just swing by some of the folks making clothing, and I had an idea in my head how to make it float, right? How to make a hat float. Well, just put some material in there that keeps the shape, retains the shape as a normal hat, but has that floating capability and doesn't retain any water. So, when it gets wet, the hat's not going to be soggy and nasty, right?
And go out
Um,
of shape. Absolutely.
exactly. And then dry. Literally, this thing will dry in like 5 minutes out of the water, not even.
No way.
Um, yeah, so it's pretty cool. So I had the idea in my head. I had to kind of design how to make it, but then I went to the manufacturing zone in Peru. So I speak a little Spanish, pretty terribly
Bueno.
probably. Yeah, bueno, buenísimo. Um, and so I went over there and was like, hey, so walked around. I had a good friend that I was kind of kite surfing with and surfing with in Peru, and he was stoked on the idea. He was Peruvian, and I'm like, well, help me out. Let's do this. Let's go over to the
Nice.
manufacturing zone, and he actually sold jeans. So this guy
No
was,
way.
yeah, it was crazy. It's random, like kind of how life starts to take you on this journey when you go down, a path.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think that's you've hit the nail on the head there. When you go down the path, that's that key thing that you had the idea, you knew roughly what you wanted to do and what you needed, and then you started to see the opportunities around you, I guess.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it was, that unique kind of that situation where I was at. It was kind of fun too. Like, okay, let's explore this. Like
Amazing.
like you said, the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a big thing. And I know you had kind of wrote down some questions, and that was it. Where it's like when an opportunity knocks, I think every individual has in your life has the ability just to take it and go with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't. Sometimes
Well,
people
that's
do.
the execution piece. Yeah, the guy or the girl that does well is usually those that execute. They're not necessarily the first or the best or the smartest, but they're the people that execute and get shit done.
100. I 100% agree. And I literally just had this conversation like a week ago with some of my friends, and we were talking about it. And I'm like, everyone has ideas.
Yeah.
Everyone has amazing ideas, and there's loads of them. And I even have people come up to me all the time. Oh, you should have done this. Oh, you should have done that. And I'm like, hey, that's great. But what really makes a person stand out is not just the idea. Ideas are great, but the executable, ness behind that, or how to execute it. If you can execute it, then you're going to be way
Boom.
more successful. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So anyway, I was in Peru, and so I went to all these manufacturing, and there was like, I was literally sitting down for a couple of days with these little old ladies who made hats. That's all they did for a
No.
living. Yeah, it was amazing. So I just sat with them, and we're hashing through all my ideas. And the cool thing, they're kind of like if you're in manufacturing and you go to China or Taiwan or Vietnam, a lot of the materials there get shipped in. So you can go to these markets with, thousands of clothing materials, jeans, foam fabrics. You just start choosing all your fabrics. And they all get shipped in because it's a big manufacturing area. So I would walk through the markets, find all my fabrics I wanted, and started getting the ideas and just started picking and choosing how to make the hat. And when it would go back to the little old lady in Peru, in Lima, and they would hash out some,
No way.
prototypes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
sorry, just to clarify that. So you were going to Asia to look at the materials.
Actually, no. So this one was all in Peru. So this one
Okay,
was
well.
all done in Peru. But it would come over. A lot of the materials would actually come over from Asia into
No
Peru
way.
because South America, yeah, is a little bit different. But yeah, I was looking at all the materials there. They had a little market, so I near where all the manufacturing is done. So if you ever want to get like, prototypes made, that was a sweet thing that I found out. I could just go to Peru. It's a business write-off.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, go to Peru, and then you could just literally sit there, get, speaking Spanish helped a ton, but also having a local that could help me out that I made friends
Oh
with was
yeah.
another benefit, right? So we hashed out a bunch of kind of prototypes with the manufacturing women there, and that's kind of how the hat was born. Yeah.
That's amazing. And what kind of cost was involved in knocking up prototypes? And when you say prototype, like how close was it to a finished product?
It was about 80% close to a finished product.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and I think your biggest expense, if I think most of the people that are probably listening to your podcast have other jobs, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a very good speaking point in itself. That certainly my advice from anybody would be never quit your job
Yeah.
until the new project is earning so much money and taking it so much time that it's just going to be like counterproductive to stick with the old job. But to
Mhm.
come back to that, not to distract you from that story though, in terms of the cost of production, what kind of dollars were involved in US dollars in getting you to that 80%?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I actually, my wife had a clothing company as well that she just sold.
Okay.
Roseanne, yeah, and so this is something I actually we have a little bit of experience with. The cost when there was nothing. I mean,
Wow.
not nothing, but it was having to
It was
have
relatively.
it was under $100.
Really? Wow. My God.
Under
That's
$100, and
incredible.
yeah, and so well, what I would suggest to people listening too is you have your job, you want to take a vacation, you have an idea that might be however whatever that idea is that could potentially be manufactured. Is it clothing? Is it something else? But you're going on a trip to Thailand, or you're going to China, Peru, wherever there might be a manufacturing base for that particular idea you have. Take a trip as a vacation, and if you have a business already set up, that might be a write off towards that business. And while you're there, just do some groundwork. Don't be afraid to go talk to the locals who specialize in making products, because there's always going to be an area that has a specialization. That might be leather products. You can go to places in India, or there's other areas around the world that Morocco. So there's all these developing countries that have specialty products that they either manufacture or have the resources for to make that product. So you can go there, and then once you're there and you have your feet on the ground or boots on the ground per se, is that you can get that stuff done dirt cheap.
No way.
And that I found to be super helpful. And Rose did the same thing, and that was something she got some clothing done in Indonesia. So going there, taking that trip, and then while you're there, hey, I'm on vacation, but while I'm here, why not for a couple of days go out and do some door knocking and some email outreach before I go, and see what, like you said, go down that path, right? Go down that path.
Absolutely.
See where it takes you. It might not take you anywhere, or it could take you to creating a new product, for really low amount of money. So
Absolutely. That's really great advice, and it's really inspiring. And also, I'm aware that in Chile, there's a startup Chile program. I'm not too sure if it's still running, but it was offering ridiculous supports, accommodation and nice dollars, and contacts and help from the government.
dude,
So I guess that's another thing
there
that's
too. Yeah.
yeah. Have you had any supports along the way, or have you had any experiences that helped you out from, I guess, a funding, or right now are you just funding it out of your pocket? Because you mentioned you've got the kite surfing schools, and you're a software developer as well.
Yeah, I do business development for that stuff too on the side. Kind of what you said, keep your day job a little bit.
Okay, nice. Okay, so you got a couple of revenue streams going on, which is kind of the future, I guess.
Yep, that's it. Setting yourself up, I think that's a good way to go about it. So, but I have my hat company. I have a partner who, and they worked at Amazon, so they
Okay.
know kind of that kind of space. It was kind of funny at first. They're like, no, and this I can go on and talk about this a little bit later, but a niche product, right? And a lot of people, I get two kind of people that see the hat and they say, oh, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of it? And then I get everyone else that's like, oh, that's not a big enough market, or that's not a big enough problem to solve. That's going to generate sales, right? And that's where my friend was in the beginning. She was, oh, that's not something that I think is going to sell. And then after they started seeing the benefits and people getting super excited about it, oh yeah, and there you go. I got my business partner now.
It's amazing. I think you draw on a really great point, and that is that certainly I've seen it around the startup ecosystem in Ireland, that we've had probably the most well-known unicorn is Stripe, but the Irish government actually couldn't cope with the boys when they came along, and they're like, oh, we're 17 years of age and we're going to change the world. So technically they're actually an American company.
What?
So it's because the Americans took them in and said, no worries, lads, we'll look after you, and
I didn't know that was Irish. Whoa, that's crazy.
The guys were Irish, but it took America to help them to achieve best success.
Yep.
But they're outliers, and a lot of people, especially you get a lot of experts that suddenly appear, whenever you've got trends, and startup has become a huge trend. Well, it started maybe 5 years ago to become a huge trend over this side of the pond. And like, as far as I'm concerned, if you can build something that adds tangible value and you can get money out of it, that's all that matters. The size is less important, provided that it's working for you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And it's kind of like that again. It all goes down that path thing. Once you start down that path, doors start opening, right? And you're like, oh,
Absolutely.
I didn't see that door before. Where did that come from?
Well, now you're really dialing in on it. Yeah, it's that when you go down the path, you start to notice the doors that are already there, maybe, but you didn't see them. I think that's really encouraging for someone else. That, if I asked you, like, what's your like biggest tip or words of inspiration right now, if somebody else is saying, God, I'd love to do a little business.
Yeah, no, I've thought about this a lot too, and for me would be, and this isn't for everyone, but might speak to a particular person. So I'm speaking to you, that person listening
Absolutely.
and watching.
Brilliant.
Yeah. You have a passion. Everyone's got a passion. Everyone's got something they're really interested in, and if you don't think you do, you do. If that's watching TV, then you're good at watching TV.
Yeah.
So everyone's got that passion and that niche, and I kind of was touching on it earlier, is that niche market. There's always a niche market. So figure out that product, and this doesn't apply to everyone, but figure out that product that you are interested in, that you know very well, or the space that you know very well, the interest that you have. And if there's a problem that you can fix, that there isn't a product out there that does it, there you go. You got an idea, right? And then
amazing.
Yeah, and then that niche product is a lot of people have kind of told me, oh, that you're not going to make money in that area. There's not enough people to buy. You should go to something that's more productizable. And kind of what I say to them is, you're really missing how the internet has changed things.
Yeah. That's such a great point, because you're looking at a global market. So if you captured 1% of the global market, you can retire in like 3 years' time.
Well, this is another thing. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and so the niche markets, because we're able to capture. If you're having that problem, I'm almost positive another easily 1,000, 5,000, 30,000 people that are interested in that same thing you're interested in are having that same problem. And if it hasn't been corrected, and you can do it and be the first one to market, do it, because then the outreach to those individuals. That's why Google. I love Google. I love searchable items, meta tags, everything, e-commerce. Because when people go into Google, I have a problem with X, X, and X, or they're Googling this information, your product's going to come up if there's no, another product already fixing that issue they're having. Does that make sense, kind of?
Oh yeah, for me, 200%. And on that note, have you got any favorite tools or favorite marketing tips right now that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would say growth hacking. I got into growth hacking a little bit. Are you
so how do you? Yeah, but it's a funny thing that I've met a lot of people who tell me they're growth hackers, but they haven't showed me the products that they've made a lot of money out of. So,
exactly. I think
if I say
theory,
from the horse's mouth, like how we got in touch was through the internet. You guys found me, which is kind of cool. But through more, I guess it was probably from tags, from water sports tags, rather than through Irish Startup TV. Yep. So I guess to go back to to put the question to you. How do you define growth hacking, and how has it worked for you?
So I think, and that's a theory, like you kind of say too, there's always like, I'm a growth hacker. I go out on Facebook and I create, a video that I stream in India for 0.01 cents, and I get, 500,000 likes and views, and then I push it out to my, market in Ireland, and now I, have social equity. That kind of growth hacking, okay. I mean, that's
I'm always skeptical about that. If you're selling, I don't know, books about mathematics to, I don't know, you're trying to then market to, I don't know, a lot of old ladies in Indonesia. I'm not too sure if there may be a slight data disconnect there. So, I'm always skeptical about numbers.
That's exactly, and you should be, I think. And I'm still in what I found like is a theory behind growth hacking to be very interesting is just that funneling system of how to acquire, and a lot of people that I say is, and a lot of successful people too, the marketing stuff. I've got a buddy who does like social media for Nike and all this other stuff, right? And I talked to him.
Oh yeah, because you're up in Nike Central, of course.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah. so, going back to the growth hacking thing, it's more the theory behind it. I really enjoy the theory. It's not, the practicalities or the minute details of each individual's tactics. That's whatever.
Yeah.
And I just like the theory where it's like this funneling system. Like, okay, so
Yeah.
how am I going to grow my business, and what are the different strategies that I can utilize? The minute details, I don't care about. Like, you can go out there and do some crazy mathematical hacking, blah, 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 find out the viewers and sell the whatever. But for me, it's just that simplistic. Okay, I'm, talking to Irish Startup TV. I want to talk to another, TV channel. I'm writing articles for a magazine. I'm producing good content. I'm producing a good blog page. I have my SEO dialed. I have my social media dialed. So you're creating all these things that start to generate, revenue streams or some type of way to funnel them through to that purchasing process, right?
So in simple language, make cool shit that's interesting for people, stick it up on the internet, and then just tune, adjust, iterate.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Amazing.
And
Okay.
it's these little marketing things too that you'll see with, like, I like it is you're agile, so you're trying like test markets. So you're trying, okay, so today I'm gonna do, or this, the next 3 months, my marketing goal is to test out 10 new strategies. But I'm agile. I'm not committing to any of those strategies for growing the business. I'm just gonna do tests on them, 10, 20 tests, and then when I find one that works, I'm gonna stick my money into advertising for that specific one. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, do you see a value in paid search, paid advertising?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Because like Instagram in Ireland right now, it's sort of 70% ads, and the Instagram platform, as an example, has completely shifted from a first come first serve to you can totally manipulate it if you throw enough money into it.
Yeah.
But then arguably, I would be concerned that if you put too much money into it, but you still don't have enough money to compete with a huge corporate, that maybe your dollars could get lost. So how do you, I guess, identify the value, and how do you make sure that you can measure that effectively?
We're actually having that kind of thing right now, because for a long time, I think social media for a while, or that term social media, there's going to be a different platform soon, whatever they want to call it then. It's probably not going to be social media anymore. It's going to be something else.
Connecting people over the internet, 2.0. Yeah.
Okay. But that's been something we're kind of like a challenge. We're struggling. I'm not. You can get your clicks per dollar, whatever your revenue stream is based off of that. I don't see a huge amount unless I'm really targeted, focused on a particular time frame. If you really, like, Black Friday was in the US, if we push something out there,
it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, and if you just, but again, that's that idea. You start to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and if you push it out, like, hey, instead of doing $20 for 5 hour time frame between that specific day, I can do 2 hours for $20 and be way more targeted.
Okay.
So it's that strategy, and you're kind of figuring out what your product is, who your product audience is. If you're selling, some crazy pharmaceutical drug that people stay up at night and want to sleep, when are you targeting them? 1 in the morning.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah.
In the software company I was involved with before, we had a problem with failed payments. And then I was having a chat with a guy one day over a game of pool in the co-working space, and they were in the payment space. And they said, well, when are you billing? And I was like, oh, the lads were doing it like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, that's 4 a.m. in California, or whatever the time worked out at. It worked out at 4 a.m. in California. So Wells Fargo kept knocking it out as that could be fraud. That has to be fraud, because who buys software at 4 a.m.? So knowing these little things, there's a really practical element. And it's kind of going back to that thing of, it's quite often simple things that we just have to apply that little bit more intelligence, that little bit better execution of and around.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but so if you get really focused and you really strategize in that area, you can be successful. But again, it's hard. It's not for everyone.
And what about there's so many people right now that I certainly see a lot of brands, sort of clothing brands online, but when you scratch the surface of them, you very quickly realize that maybe there's not really much going on here. So it's so important I would argue to be authentic and to show that you are a real person. And in your instance, like talking to you now, it becomes so clear that there's a huge amount of intelligence and domain expertise and experience of actually a couple of different verticals coming together to help this product. But does it get frustrating for you sometimes when there's possibly, just for want of a better way of expressing it, complete chancers just throwing up a few pictures and hoping for the best?
Yeah, I think for that, if you're lucky, you have to be very. It's like winning the lottery if you do that.
Okay, yeah. So the reality of it is that they probably just burn themselves out then.
Yeah. I think but that's also something. I think it's if you have a good idea, like you said, the content, it's a good product that brings value. It's not going to sell itself, but you got to build that network. You got to build that social equity again, kind of thing. With people using the products, once they start getting it in their hands, wow, this provides something. Maybe that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or B, that I always needed and I couldn't believe it. This is amazing that it's made, right?
Yeah, and the former is a harder sell for sure. And
Yeah.
like, do you do anything along the lines of like influencer marketing? Like you mentioned, you knew a lot of people in Ireland. Do you send people product, or what would be your tips or your recommendations for helping to capture that? Oh wow, I didn't even know I needed this, but now I can't live without it. Market.
Well, okay, so I'll give you. Yeah, that's a really interesting question too, because um, and again, we struggle with this too as well. It's always, well, not really struggle, but more of what's the strategy behind it, right? Because most people just think
Exactly.
send people products, but that product's costing me money. That's my
Yeah, they just
money.
hope for the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's again targeted. It goes back to that social media, platform strategy that you might want to have. It's really targeted, where I only, I'll tell you something right now with our hats. We have a problem that I need to fix is in the fishing area. I need to get more in this. I'm in the extreme sports. I'm in the kite surfing, paddleboarding, wakeboarding, wakeboarding a little bit. But the fishing is our largest market that I need to go after. And I'm sitting
Okay.
here thinking about this exact question, right?
Okay, well, can I jump in right
Yeah,
there and say
yeah.
that I know a girl also in Oregon, who I met in Dublin, but she is like Fisherwoman USA. So
Nice. Well,
put
there
her
you
on like
go.
the cover of Fisherwoman magazine.
You're gonna have to
Claire
send
to
me that. You're gonna have to send
Claire
me
to
that.
Palin. So I'll totally
Oh,
connect you guys.
yeah, there you go. Well, I'm going down that path. I'm going down the
Okay.
path.
Well, there you go. And we just spotted another door.
Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly.
Boom.
There you go. That's fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, so the fishing area, that's a problem for me. But the influencer side, like, so we have a couple targeted people. We gave products away a little bit at first. Didn't see anything. Okay, well, hey, I'll take a photo of it, and so okay, well, that's those individuals, and then a lot of people want money. They want a lot of money for it, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and you get a lot of people. Hey, I'll wear your hat for $500, and I'll write a post
No
about
way.
it. Yeah, and it's like at first you're like, oh, cool. This person's got 1 million followers. This sounds awesome. Here you go.
Yeah.
Whatever products you want, and nothing in return, right?
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So what we found is the people that are hungry, the influencers, not really. They might not even be full on influencers. And I'm gonna give you guys this is kind of a secret here. I know I probably shouldn't. Rose might be mad. Talk quiet maybe. But when it comes to influencers, is you want the people that are hungry, and they will purchase your product at a discount. So you're offering your influencers a discount. And these influencers are going to be the ones that are super stoked on it, but that are the ones out there utilizing your product every single day. They might not be the most famous person. They might not be, the highest paid person, but they're going to be the people that are out there doing what they love, using your product because it provides the value, kind of what we talked about before. And these
Yeah,
individuals,
people don't value free.
no, boom, there you go. That's it.
But if you reward loyal customers with a little bit of a discount, then you're really building something. And actually, DJI are doing that really well at the moment.
Yeah,
The guys that make the drones,
yeah.
they offer discounts in certain circumstances,
Oh,
and then they enable affiliate marketing so that if people ship the product, they get a cut. That's a nice way of doing things.
yeah. We haven't dabbled into the affiliated marketing quite yet as much as There's some software out there that you can actually purchase to help with that. There's some pain points in creating that, because it can take a lot of time.
Yeah, it's very cumbersome for an individual. It's different if you're an Amazon or a DJI.
Exactly. So but we're doing more boots on the ground. So I'm connecting personally with these individuals that, hey, I'm in Florida. We have a guy out of Florida that supboards every day, and he creates great content for us. He's out in the water every day wearing our hat and just loves our stuff. And, not every customer is going to be like that, but, giving them that discount. Hey, here's 40% off, dude. Like, you're amazing. You freaking use our stuff every day. We're really stoked. And, you start getting that pool of people just like that in every individual little small market, niche market kind of thing too. Then that's going to build kind of, on itself, right?
I think that's amazing advice, and it's an amazing insight, and thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Yeah. So that's something I would utilize too. And you'll see those people when you have the product and you start getting a little more ignition, they'll start coming to you. And yeah, it's cool. So
amazing. Okay. So thanks so much for being so generous early on a Sunday morning, for sharing your time with us.
Yeah.
Have you got anything specific on the roadmap that you'd like us to keep an eye out for over the next couple of months, or anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I can't give you too much info because I gotta start getting patent pending stuff and doing all that. But
absolutely, any little clues?
Yeah, we're doing a hat that's gonna same kind of design. Well, I have a couple things. And this kind of goes back to, this is funny. I'll kind of jump in one topic that's relatable, but that niche market again, kind of talking about how people to create that niche market that they love and create a product that they can sell that's valuable. And it starts from your flagship product, right? And then everything else can grow from there. Where it's like that Nike thing we were talking about. Phil Knight he was selling track shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, what? He sold track shoes out of his car for 10 years or something. And now
then Barman and Prefontaine, and that was such an incredible story as well.
Yeah, and that whole thing, but then that blossomed to a shoe company. It started as a small niche product just for track runners.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, and that's that niche product. Oh, it's not a big enough market, but create a product that gets recognition, that gets like the water enthusiasts who want to wear a hat that is made just for them, on and off the water. That's kind of the product. And so we're making products based around that motto, based around what do people need that are on the water or off the water, but still want something stylish to be able to do both, but have functionality when wearing it on the water. And so we're going to be making a few more products that are relatable in that space. I hope that makes sense.
Amazing.
I can't give away, but it's going to be headgear.
No, that's perfect. It's going to be exciting to watch. It's always nice to give people a little taste of a little bit of excitement. So yeah. Okay, cool. So watch this space very carefully. So buoywear.com. Amazing.
Yeah, appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Nice talking to you,
John. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and can't wait to keep in touch and to see the continued progress over the next couple of months. Sayonara.